guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be my September TBR. If you've been following me, you would know in August I didn't do a TBR. I decided to mood read the whole month, despite the fact that I am a TBR reader. And let's just say it had mixed results. There were definitely things about it that I really liked, and a lot of things that I really hated. So before we talk about that and we get into my September TBR, we have a quick message from the sponsor of today's video, Book of the Month. So Book of the Month is a really amazing online book service for readers where you get a curated selection of brand new books every month, between 5 to 7 choices to choose from. And it's a really great way to help you explore new genres, find new favorite authors, and takes a lot of the pressure off of trying to find new books to read. They do all the work for you. They also have a really great skip policy if you don't like any of the book selections for that month, or you just want to skip for whatever reason. You can skip the month and you won't be charged. So here are the 2 September book selections that I got that I'm so excited to read. The first one, Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn, who you guys know is the author of my favorite book series, the Veronica Speedwell series, and I'm so excited for her new book. This isn't part of the Veronica Speedwell series. This follows a group of women who are in their 60s, and they're all retired assassins, and something brings them back into the assassin world. I really feel like this is going to be such a fun read, and I hope it has a similar, like, just quirky vibe to it that the Veronica Speedwell series has. And then the other selection that I chose is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood, who is the author of The Love Hypothesis, which I really enjoyed, so I've been very excited for her next romance book. These were 2 very highly anticipated books for me, and Book of the Month frequently has books that I've just been very hyped for, so it's a great opportunity to get those books at a discounted rate. With my link in the description and my code Riley, you can get your first box for $9.99, which is such a steal. So thank you to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video. Okay, so let's kind of talk about how my mood reading month went. We'll talk about the things that worked for me and what I enjoyed about it. Content-wise, I really liked the freedom to make videos that normally would be hard to fit into my schedule. So I did Instagram Controls My Weekend, where I ran a bunch of Instagram polls and my Instagram followers picked what I read. And then I did another vlog that was Scavenger Hunt Chooses What I Read, where I did a whole scavenger hunt with my books, and that led me to one book that I ended up reading in that vlog. Both of those were videos that the outcome was kind of out of my control. Again, I wouldn't normally be able to necessarily plan them out with my TBRs, so I did enjoy like the freedom content-wise. Another thing that I really liked is I ended up reading a lot of books from genres that I enjoy but aren't really priorities for me, that I don't really put into my TBR. For example, I read Jennette McCurdy's memoir. I rarely read nonfiction, rarely read memoirs, but I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. And again, this is something that normally I wouldn't even think to put on a TBR because it's not my typical kind of read. Since I was just mood reading and I was seeing so much hype for this book, I was able to just pick it up in the moment and I loved it. Another book that I read that normally would be kind of hard to fit into my TBRs was the Finlay Donovan sequel. I've been trying to do better at fitting sequels into my TBRs, but again, it's not really like my biggest priority, and they're kind of hard to fit into like other video concepts that I'm doing. I also read a bunch of comics and graphic novels, which I love. In the early days of my channel, I read like 50% books, 50% comics. I read tons of comics, but I really don't think about them much anymore. So I enjoyed that. I reread all of Saga, which is my favorite comic series, and I had such a great time with that. And now I'm super excited for the next volume to come out. So those were the things that went well for me. Now, ultimately, I've decided that I hate mood reading, okay? And the reason being that if I look at the number of days that I actually read in the month of August, I had more days that I wasn't reading than days that I was reading, because what ended up happening, which I knew was gonna happen, this was my problem before I made TBRs, is that the second that I finished a book, because I didn't have a book up next to read, I would go an entire week without picking up a book, just like not even thinking of it. I also really felt like I had a hard time time figuring out what my mood was. I think I was just really overthinking it, and that was like making it difficult for me. And the fact that I have so many books in this room, the possibilities were so endless that I would spend hours trying to figure out what book I wanted to read next, and it would take me so long that I would just end up not picking up anything. So I think going forward, we're going back to the TBRs, okay? Mood reading is not for me. I'm not a mood reading girl. However, I would like to leave room to fit in other things that just come up that I really want to read that maybe don't normally fit into my wheelhouse, like comics or memoirs or sequels, whatever it may be. So I'm gonna try going forward to be a little bit more flexible and allow myself to pick up things that aren't on my TBR, even when I do have that TBR. So with all that being said, we are now going to pick out the books for my September TBR. I have been so excited to make this TBR. Like, I've been thinking about it all month. And if you're new here, I have this TBR jar where I have a ton of challenges and prompts and different things to help me select my books. I need to tell you about the Patreon books that I'm reading. So for my Patreon book club in September, we are going to be reading A Heart of Blood and Ashes by Mila Vane. This is a fantasy romance that is probably one of the most recommended books to me, and one of the books that I've been meaning to read for years, and I'm so excited. I've heard great things about this. I've heard that as a romance book, it's amazing, but then also just as a fantasy book, it's great. So I'm very excited to read that with my patrons, and if you want to join us, it is not too late to join the Patreon family. I do every month select some of my patrons to actually join with me on the discussion, like on camera, which is really fun. I've really been enjoying that. Very excited to read that. Then the other book, I have a Patreon TBR suggestion box where I select one book that was suggested to me by one of my patrons. So let me open up that and we'll pick one out. I keep meaning to print these out and actually put them in a jar, but I haven't done that yet. I'm just gonna scroll and we'll do this one. Okay, this one is from Desta, and it's That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. Okay, this is a romance book. I do have the audiobook on Audible. I bought it when it came out, and it sounds really good, really cute. I love the cover. It gives me like cozy, cute vibes, which are the vibes that I want for September. I feel like this is perfect. This is a perfect pick. Oh my God. Amazing. All right, now to select our challenges. Like I said, I'm really in the mood for like cozy, witchy, fall kind of books. We'll see what the jar wants me to do. First one, we have a book with a person's name in the title. Okay. The first thing that came to my mind is the new Taylor Jenkins Reid book, Carrie Soto something. I don't have it physically, but I do have the audiobook. So that is definitely an option. I'm trying to think of other books that have names in them. Okay, actually I found something different, and this is perfect for reasons that I'm not gonna tell you, but it is The 7 Visitations of Sydney Burgess by Andy Marino. So this is a possession horror. It follows a woman who is at home and she opens her front door to a masked intruder who knocks her unconscious, and then she wakes up in the hospital and is telling everyone her story, what happened, but the cops are telling her something different. They're saying that the intruder is now lying dead in her home and she murdered him. I don't know, it sounds really good. T. Kingfisher blurbed it. That's not why I'm reading it, but she said, not quite like anything I've ever read before, a strange, compelling, late night page turner. So that'll be my first one for a book with a name in the title. All right, next up we have this one, which is a book blurbed by my favorite author. Well, I could have picked this because it's blurbed by T. Kingfisher. I know I have a lot else because I frequently buy books that my favorite authors have blurbed. I have 2 books here, both blurbed by the same author, and that is TJ Klune. So we have A Marvelous Light and Light from Uncommon Stars. Both of these sound really good, really cozy. This one is like fantasy, magic, and this one I think is sci-fi. So like, it's just, what am I in the mood for? I feel like I'm more in the mood for this. Like I said, I really wanted like witchy, magical vibes, and I feel like this fits into it. This is kind of like a historical-esque fantasy. I also believe that it has a queer romance in it, so we'll go with this one. Next up, we have this one, which is a book with water on the cover. I don't even need to think about it. Hold on, where is it? From Below by Darcy Coates. I feel like I've been teasing this book in like all of my recent videos. And every time people in the comments are like, oh my god, I wanted you to read that. So yeah, this is a water horror book about this documentary crew. I think they're a documentary crew who are going down underwater to investigate this ship that has been missing for 60 years. It vanished and now they discovered it 300 miles from its intended course. It sounds great. And literally every time that I've mentioned this book or I've mentioned Darcy Coates, I get so many comments about it. So of course, no brainer, we have to pick this one. Next up, we have this one, over 500 pages. You know what? I'm not gonna do that to myself. We're just gonna put in Heart of Blood and Ashes, okay? I'm not picking something different. This is 534 pages. It's so rare that I read books this long. I'm not picking something else, okay? Although I do feel like this book is so long because it's mass market. Like, if it was like a normal size, I don't think it would be this long. I need to stop looking at the end. Oh my god. I was like gonna spoil myself. This will be my book over 500 pages. I'm not reading 2 in 1 month. All right, next is this one, which is a sequel. Okay, I could pick so many things for that. Give me a second. I found one that I've been really excited to read, and I've kind of been saving it for the fall Halloween-ish time, which for me, Halloween starts in September, let's be honest. Halloween from September until the day before Thanksgiving. Anyways, that is going to be Don't Hex and Drive by Juliet Cross. This is the second book. This series follows a group of sisters who are witches, and each book follows a different sister. The first one was a witch and a werewolf romance, and then I believe this one is a witch and a vampire. So I'm very excited. I loved the first one. It had so much humor in it, and it was just like the perfect witchy vibes. So I'm hoping this one is just as good. Next, we have this one, which is a book with 7 words in the title. Killers of a Certain Age? No. Well, I mean, if we did Killers of a Certain Age, a novel. Oh my god, everything that I'm looking at has 6. A Fate of Wrath and Flame? No. Welcome to the Dark Side? No. Not even close. All right, I did a lot of looking and I found something, and it's actually the perfect book. It's probably one of the books that I most want to read right now. I just got it in the mail yesterday, and that is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sanju Mandana. So this is a book. Actually, some of my patrons recommended this to me. I was asking for witchy book recommendations. Basically, this follows this witch who is asked to come to this house in the middle of nowhere and train these 3 young witches to control their magic. And she goes, and while she's there, there's like a whole like quirky cast of characters who all work at the school. And there's also a grumpy librarian named Jamie who would do anything to protect the children. And he sees the main character as a threat, an irritatingly appealing threat. It just sounds like the cutest thing ever. Let's pick one more challenge, and we're gonna do this one, which is a book with a book with deckled edges. I feel like I got this on the last TBR that I did, and it was difficult because I don't have that many books with deckled edges. So let me look. I'm gonna have to do some digging. All right, I found only one. I'm done looking. That took so long, and I only found one, so I'm just gonna stop looking, and we're just gonna go with this one. For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. So yeah, this is a fantasy. It says the first daughter is for the throne, the second daughter is for the wolf. So this girl, she's the second daughter, so she has to be sacrificed to the wolf in the woods. But the legend is a lie. The wolf is a man, not a monster. Okay. This sounds so good. There we have my TBR. It's a very magical, cozy, fun TBR. I don't know, I love this. These are fully the vibes that I wanted. This is perfect. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.